Good morning.
Good morning.
So I am a child of the 80s, and if you're a child of the 80s, you're probably a lover of John Hughes films. Right, okay. So for those who don't know John Hughes, he made a film called 16 Candles. Okay, I see some nods. And 16 Candles is one of my favorite movies, not because it tells a life of like a typical American teenager, but it's just really funny. But how it starts out is that a girl, a sophomore named Samantha Baker, wakes up, and it's the morning of her 16th birthday. And she is, talking to her best friend, and she's like saying, well, my family's probably waiting to greet me and tell me happy birthday. She's getting ready for the teasing, she's getting ready for the hugging and the greeting, because turning 16 is a sort of rite of passage for a young American teenager. But to her dismay, as she walks down the stairs and enters and encounters her family, no one mentions her birthday. No one wishes her well. No one gives her a hug or teases her. So she gets off the phone with her best friend, and she sees on the bus, and she says, they could have just at least said happy birthday. It was just like any other day. And she was like, even with some prompting, her mom didn't get the hint, said nothing, which gave more evidence in Samantha's teenager mind that one of her greatest fears would come true. That she doesn't matter, that she doesn't count, and that she is unlovable. And although Samantha didn't want to make her 16th birthday a big deal, she didn't expect that the people who knew her the best would forget. And all she wanted was an acknowledgement, a simple happy birthday. Otherwise, it was true that it was just an any other day. We want to be remembered and acknowledged. In the deepest places in our hearts, we want to know that others, especially those who are closest to us, remember us not only in our birthdays, but every day. And maybe that's my favorite birthday because I too have that secret fear. That one birthday, I would wake up and no one would remember. Even in my 33 years of waking up on my birthdays, it never happens. But in the back of my head, I pray to God and say, please remember me. Please remember me because I matter to you. So last week, Shauna talked about and spoke to us about waiting, how Zechariah waiting on God was worthwhile and inspired, divine. And as we continue to wait and anticipate Jesus' birth, the Advent season also calls us to be in practice of simply remembering. Remembering Jesus coming to earth as a baby boy. So thus, the simple acts of remembering and being remembered are worthwhile. But remembering can bring up mixed emotions in all of us. For some of us, the ritual act of remembering can be cathartic and healing. And some of you know that my grandmother passed away 2 weeks ago. She died on a Monday night, and our family organized a funeral and memorial service for her in the same week, so that people could come and pay their respects and give their condolences. But we knew that having these rituals were also good for us, because the people closest to her, we needed the time and space to come together and remember who she was, how she touched us, what she meant to us. But no doubt remembering can be very painful. And in some instances, we would rather not remember people or experiences because they bring up hurts from the past. And for instance, I'm not sure about you guys, but it's kind of like the feeling I get when I get a friend request on Facebook from somebody from high school who I barely knew, somebody who I thought didn't know I existed, or it's when I get the e-bite for my 10th or 15th year high school reunion, and I get this knot in my stomach and wonder, should I go, should I not go, why should I go? It's painful because maybe I don't want to remember what I was like or how I was treated during that time in my life. I ask myself, was I embarrassed about how I dressed or my ugly hairstyle? But in deeper reflection, I feel like I carry because I was feeling that maybe I was embarrassed by the things I did, or embarrassed by the hurt because others made me feel so small. Or maybe it was how I regretted the things that I said, or the way that I said them. So, like me, like you, we learn to forget, leaving us, because sometimes our past leaves us with knots in our stomach too. We don't want to forget. We don't want to remember, and we don't want to be around people or things that remind us of the hurts.